Hey everybody, it's Stippling Vaughn, and as you can see, we have been starting the inking of the monster, the eyeball teeth monster, and I've been getting the stippling done in here in the tentacles, and I'm going to be today I'm going to be starting with up here with Jazz with her hair. You can see actually where I go down, you can see where the pages are coming down, like this is a page, this is a page. Down here is a page from the Lost Pages book. This is a book, The Lost Pages. The Diaz brothers are doing this book, and this is for their fan art submission. You can see also, if you look at compared against the other videos I've done, you can see where I've started to cover up all the different skulls and faces. And the thing is, you can see where. Okay, look right here. This is a perfect example. You've got so much activity going on in this page, okay, of the book, that these things here, okay, detract from it, okay? Now, I'm still going to do this where some of these areas where I've covered lightly with dots, so they'll still be there. What I'll do is I'll ink everything else out, and then we'll have that area, and we'll take a look, and if it looks like they should go away, they'll go away, because remember, it's nice and pretty, but it's meaningless, okay? What matters is this right here, okay? We've got the hobo holding the book in front of a fire pit. We've got the flames, we've got the smoke going up, and here we have pages going up where we're going to have images in them. We go up here, and then we go around to Jazz, We the People, and to Crimson. So like I said, I'm going to be starting here. I'm going to be working up here with Jazz, and then how that goes. Probably go from Jazz down to her torso, and then from there, what I'll probably do is if afterwards, probably start working on covering these guys up, and probably start working on these stairwell. When I do my time lapse, I'll be switching over to the other. See, there's something that's important if you guys can take note. Okay, the dots here are very fine. The reason why these dots are very fine is it's because it's ink from the bottom of the jar. That's very thick ink. When you use very thick ink, it comes out very wispy because it doesn't want to feed through the nib. Okay, whereas new ink, which is what I'll be using today, you can see how it's very distinct and it flows smoothly, so you have a much darker dot. Whereas here we have a very light, fine dot. So that's all intentional. Okay. So again, we're going to be putting Jazz in with a distinct new ink, so we have a distinct line. And then when I do the time lapse, we'll be going and we'll be working on the with the older ink. Okay, so just to give you a heads up, and then what I might do is, after I get done with the first time-lapse video, I'll probably work on this stairwell, on this fire escape, do that as a time-lapse, and then I'll release that later in the week. So, but let's get started with this. So, you guys all know that I am a member of a show called The Chat, done by Danger Vanessa. Last night we did the what we call the Hillbilly Book Club, where we take a mainstream book that was done by a Comicsgate artist, and we review it. We review the story and review the artwork. Well, we did the Ultimates, and the story absolutely is dog shit. Absolute dog shit. And then I discovered through the show that Al Ewing was also the one who did the Immortal Hulk. He is the one that when the book was ending, his run was over, instead of bowing out gracefully, he outed and caused the cancellation of Joe Bennett. I believe it's Joe Bennett. I could be wrong. It's a different Joe. He's a Brazilian artist. He is religious. And he outed him because it is not favorable for someone to be religious in this industry anymore. He is no longer getting work. Well, he's actually now doing work for Kingstone Comics. If you go to your Google search and you look up Kingstone Comics, you'll see books that he's been working on. He's done some biblical books, and he's also done some books on the formation of our country. Most recent is called The Ride. If you go to that website, you will see that the religious books are almost always in stock. That tells me that that they print high amounts of them, and that there's a high demand for them. The books I would like to see reprinted are the ones about the formation of our country. The most recent one's called The Ride, but there's one about the Pilgrims. There's one about the fights and conflicts in New England. I find them all very interesting. The artwork from him is beautiful. He's always posted on Facebook these artwork images, and they're just absolutely stupendous. So I would say it's worth your time to at least go over to Kingstone Comics and take a look at their site, see what they have. Okay? So, but I just, Aluina, it'll be nice. It'll be nice. I did my ranting last night. I'm not going to rehash it for you guys today. If you guys want to see me lashing out and calling him all sorts of names, all you have to do is go to the chat episode from last night, and you'll see me going off. And I went off big time. So, okay. Give me a minute here. We gotta turn this upside down for me to work on this. So you have to understand, when it's up here, I can't see it that well. So when I come and bring it down here, I can then see better. Whoops, I gotta go up high. Oh, go up like this. So, we got some great news, or at least I did. They have announced that G.I. Joe will be continuing as a monthly comic book series. It was originally done by Marvel Comics, then it went over to IDW, and when it went over to IDW, they got Larry Hama to resume doing G.I. Joe. And now, after Hasbro pulled the licensing from IDW, it has gone over and it's now being done by Skybound. Now, at first when they finished the series, I was really annoyed how Larry Hama ended it with a cliffhanger. Now, there had always been, from the very beginning of the book being canceled with IDW, it was always speculated that someone else was going to pick up the licensing for G.I. Joe and it would continue. But that wasn't set in stone. So as a result, I was very agitated that they were ending the book on a cliffhanger. I was very disappointed by that. But Larry knew more than me. And I suppose they couldn't officially announce anything, but even in February, when he was in the hospital, I guess, he posted something about how he was already plotting issue 303. He had already plotted out 301 and 302. So that gives hope in that he is going to be continuing the book. And so I owe Larry Hama an apology. I apologize to Larry Hama for being so upset and being so vocal about the book being canceled and the way he concluded the series with G.I. Joe when he was with IDW. I would have preferred a much more significant closure of just wrapping everything up and boom, that's it. That's the end. Which I think, I look at it, was like, even though it's one of those like, oh, we've got a deal in the works that you're on, that's never a guarantee. Even if you have something in the works, there's no guarantee. Unless he has money on the table, unless they've put money in his pocket then he shouldn't have ended it that way. Okay? But the book series is going to continue. He's going to be continue to be the scribe for it. So I have to be an adult about this, and I need to give Larry his apology. So I am formally apologizing to Larry Hama for criticizing how he ended 300 of G.I. Joe. I'm looking forward to his continuing the book. I think because it's under Image and Skybound, and as I understand it, I'm not a big, I guess Skybound is Larry is it Tyler Kirkman or Larry Kirkman? I forget who it was. It's the Robert Kirkman. It was the creator of The Walking Dead. Okay, he has a very good track record with properties, with his own IPs, and them translating over to TV and movies. So I would say G.I. Joe's in good hands. I'm certain he can have the title set up in such a way so it can be easily translated onto a TV show or into a big screen. Which, honestly, that's what these the big companies want. They want the movies. They want the TV shows. And I look at it as one of those where it's like, if he can create a good property out of G.I. Joe and maintain it without being disrespectful to the core audience, good. Because that's the biggest thing, is that you gotta, what too many companies do is they spit on your established fan base to gamble on a fan base that isn't there. And we need more properties that are expanding their fan base while maintaining their core base. I've always said that's where the movies with Marvel were so successful, was because when they did the Iron Man movie, they did it in such a way that it would draw in a large general fans, but it was respectful to the core audience. Because it was success. So think of it this way: if they went for this audience, which is the Marvel fans or the comic book fans, and they got them to buy it, great. But then they were able to get a new fan base, which was the regular moviegoer. Then they did the next film, which was the Hulk. Again, they went after this fan base, but now they got this fan base. Okay? So each time they went after that small fan base, but that circle of returns was wider and wider. Okay? For G.I. Joe to maintain its successfulness, they need to be respectful and maintain that core fan base, while at the same time finding a way to bring in a new fan base. That is a very hard thing to do, especially in today's society. And so I hope that the two of them can rise to the challenge for them to maintain that property while introducing a new generation to that book. So, like I said, this is a formal apology to Larry. I think he's always done a great job with the book. I've never had a problem with how he's doing the books, even when he's getting kind of, I don't know, getting in there with all of a sudden, like at the end, creating like this character and that character and whatnot. It's like you have great characters that you're not utilizing. Instead of and here's the thing also. I understand now. Okay, then why is he creating new characters? Well, think about it. When he was doing G.I. Joe, it was a Hasbro property. Okay? he doesn't own any rights to them. I'm wondering if he's going to have it reworked in his deal, that if he has to revamp, revitalize, or he needs to create a new Joe or a new Cobra, that he gets a higher royalty to it. That could be it. That could be it. So if that's the case, good for him that he's getting it worked into his contract. Now, if he isn't, then you know what? Stop trying to create new characters. Just focus on the characters that are there. And I can understand why they did the whole thing with creating a female Snake Eyes, killing off and now bringing back killing off the original Snake Eyes, having a new Snake Eyes, Sean, and then bringing it back. And if you want to find out why there's so many different Snake Eyes, Google search it. I'm not going to go into it. I didn't have a problem with them creating different Snake Eyes. They were, how Larry did it, as I didn't have a problem with how Larry did it. You had multiple Snake Eyes, and they weren't the exact same carbon copies of each other in many ways. So I'm looking forward to how he does, because you had all three Snake Eyes together when issue 300 ended. So I'm very curious as to how he's going to continue that, along with, most importantly, continuing the story with Sean's father, Wade Collins, and Scarlet. And of course, I don't know anything specific. There is a Crimson Guard, female Crimson Guard member, and they were introducing her, and I don't know whether she's going to stay with Cobra, or whether she was captured at the end of 300. I don't know if she's going to defect to G.I. Joe, or whether they're going to have her go back to Cobra. I don't know. I mean, it's armchair quarterback here. It's one of those where it's like we can debate and consider what's going to happen moving forward. But I do have a lot of faith, and the reason why I have a lot of faith is because Larry Hama is very good at bouncing from, because G.I. Joe is a military organization that fights a terrorist organization. Joes are always being deployed. And because Joes are always being deployed around the world, essentially they're always going from one mission to another. And Larry Hama is very good at bouncing from deployment to deployment with different characters. And again, this is where he is a good writer. He's very good at, like, okay, here is, we gotta go on a mission and we need 5 Joes. Okay, I'm gonna go with these 2 Joes because they're popular with the fans, but I've got these other 3 Joes that haven't really seen the light of day. I'm gonna put them in, so that way you have that possibility of, like, oh, we're gonna have a Joe possibly die, and it'll be one of these 3 Joes, or at least it gives you a chance to. It gives you something. Remember, it gives you something different. Remember, they always have the saying, less is more. Okay, and when you have such a large number of Joes, and you have them being so many different Joes going on missions, you don't want to have the exact same. It gets stale. You take a look how everybody talks about how, like, well, the reason why we had to update Spider-Man is that he was getting stale. And that's the reason why you make these changes to Superman. And this is the reason why you make the changes to Batman. He was getting stale. Unfortunately, stagnation works with comics. Okay, the stagnation of the characters, never moving forward with the characters. It works in comic books where it doesn't work in TV and movies. Okay, but where Larry has such a large number of characters, it gives him the ability not just to keep us as the viewer or the reader entertained, because it's not the exact same characters in every single book, but I'm sure it keeps him entertained. And it gives him, like, okay, well, I want to do this type of story. I'm tired of using Grunt. Let's use, Let's use a grunt this time. Let's use airborne this time. Let's use hit and run this time, instead of always using muskrat, falcon, and flint. Okay, it can be debated like, oh, I like this character better. We all have our favorite Joes. So I look at where him having the ability to constantly do new stories, that even if they're rehash of older stories, if he just uses different Joes, it keeps it fresh for us, and it keeps it fresh for him. So I hope that Larry and Kirkman do not disappoint us, and that they give us great Joe stories moving forward. And yes, if you haven't figured it out, I will definitely be going as soon as I know the February availability of books or subscriptions or solicitations are available. Yeah, I'm going to go to my local comic book store and yeah, G.I. Joe, make sure I'm down for it. So, okay, I was done doing jazz. I'm going to go work on the time-lapse video. So remember, everybody, go over to Zaid Comics and look at the Lost Pages. It's available on their page on Twitter. It's available on Indiegogo. I think it's Shadowban and Indiegogo, so you may not be able to find it looking at it directly. That's why I'm going to provide you with the link in the description of this video, so you can look up the Lost Pages by the Diaz brothers. Diaz Brothers Zaid Comics. Okay? And also, I'm going to include in it also the link for Clint Holinsky. Clint Holinsky has his book, The Superiors. It ends tonight. I would encourage everybody to take a look at that book also, along with Mike Barron and Pat Broderick's Bronze Star. Okay? So there's 3 books I definitely advise you to check out. And just a fourth for good measure, I'm going to tell you, once again, go check out Octagon. Okay, I'll include the link. I think it looks like it's going to be an entertaining book, and I think you should all check it out. So, hey, I'm going to get back to what I was doing. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and remember, life is stressful, and that's why you should take it all one dot at a time.